Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I look way too orange right now. I don't know how to fix this because I honestly don't know what happened. I use regular lighting, and I just don't understand why sometimes I turn on my camera and it's like, damn girl, like why do you look like una naranja?
Gonna give you this mic back, but what I'ma say to the ladies that been told that you cannot have, you tell the devil you's a liar.
Good look at me and they what's good, you guys. So in this video I am responding to the questions that you all have asked me about becoming an emancipated minor. Some of these questions I did take from the comment section. I have also received emails from you guys. Some of you guys have sent me like really long emails about your situation. Some of you have actually commented them, but most of the super long comments or questions that I've received have actually been in my email. So what I did was I gathered some of that and or some of those questions, and I wrote them all down, and I'm going to respond to them. Before I begin, I do want to say that I'm very surprised that so many of you actually know about emancipation, especially because it wasn't until I met somebody who was an emancipated minor that I learned about this process. So I do think it's really cool that you guys know about this process. I think I've said that before just because I really do think it's impressive. You obviously can't change your circumstances unless you know what's wrong or unless you can identify that there is an issue. So I'm glad that you guys have identified that there's a problem in your situation or in your life and your living conditions and what have you, and you're actively seeking out that information. The second thing that I did want to say before I begin is I do apologize. I know that it has taken me a really long time to respond to you guys. I do work, I do have a life, and I did not expect people to respond or ask me questions or really care. Like, I don't put these videos out there for other people first and foremost. I am aware that obviously there are people on the internet and there are people who are going to see my videos at some point in time, but it's not like I drop a video and like 17 people run in the first 10 seconds to go watch or comment or like or whatever. Like, if you can't tell, I don't ask people to like my stuff. I don't ask people to subscribe to me. I don't ask people to keep up with me. That's not what I put myself on the internet for. Just really quickly, I'll just explain that I don't have anything from the first, I don't know, 10 15 years of my life. Like, I don't have nothing. I don't have a photo. I don't have a video of anything. All I have are the memories in my head and in my heart. So given that I know how it feels like to not have anything that connects me to my beginning, I want to have something that documents my ending. Not that I'm expecting to have it ended soon, but I just want to document the experiences that I've had. I do it for me first and foremost. So that is part of the reason why when I receive like a comment from people, I don't go running to it. Like, I'm really not here for fans and for people to follow me and whatnot. I do appreciate your questions. I do appreciate that you guys actually take the time to listen, and I'm really glad that you guys actually listen to my stuff and gain something from it. Like, I'm glad that some of you have said to me, you know, that this was helpful, this was inspirational, etc., etc. I'm glad, you know, because I'm aware that in my lifetime, people sharing their situations with me have really uplifted me, and those moments where people have confided in me have really helped me. I'm glad to be able to help other people. With that being said, I do want to just jump into the questions that you guys have asked me. I think I have between 10 to 15. I'm not going to ramble any longer. So yeah, and I did write them down as I stated, just because, you know, there's nothing like writing down stuff, you know. Pressing pen to paper is so therapeutic. So anywho, the first question is emotional abuse a good reason to get emancipated? I will say just succinctly, say yes. If you are being emotionally, sexually, physically, verbally abused, or Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'll just make it real general. If you fall under any of those categories, that is reason enough for you to seek out emancipation. I say that because typically when you become a victim of emotional abuse, that will lead to other forms of abuse, especially if you stay in those relationships. If you stay in those predicaments, then yeah, most likely you will become abused by the same person in more ways, and possibly by other people who are in the same environment as you and people who see you as prey. So yes, it is reason enough. However, if you're referring to the moment that you're in court, or the moment that you're seeking out lawyers and you want somebody to to take on your case, I will say that you have to have something to support you. Like, yes, your reason can be that you were emotionally abused, but the judge is going to want to know what you're doing to combat that. Like, the judge is going to want to see that you have a backup plan or any kind of plan to get you out of your circumstances. I don't think that you'll be able to just go to the judge and say, I'm being emotionally abused. I want to be emancipated. I would like to petition to become emancipated. There are going to be some lawyers who may be afraid to take on your case, and there's also the chance that your parents will say no. And in some states, like in the state that I live in the state that I became an emancipated minor in, your parents do have the final say. In states like Indiana, you can become emancipated without your parents' consent, to my knowledge. So, look into that. The second question is, how did you get a mediator? So I don't remember which video these questions and comments came from, so excuse me. But um, if your question is about the woman who um, got the paperwork signed by my father and whatnot when I was living with my legal guardian before I became an emancipated minor, that woman was a social worker slash like youth guidance counselor who was appointed to me by someone in my school when I was in high school. So just a quick synopsis for you who like just got here, and if you have not read my poetry collection. When I was 15 years old, the day before my sophomore year began, I was told to leave by my birth mother after, I guess you could say, we got into an argument. I mean, we didn't really get into an argument. She accused me of doing something that I didn't do, threatened to call my father, threatened to beat me with my father when he returned home from work. I knew that they were very serious because of things that happened earlier in the summer. So I just grabbed my stuff and I called my boss at the time, which is the woman who became my legal guardian, and I asked her if she could come pick me up. Honestly, at that time, I expected to just be taken to a shelter or whatever. But the next day I went to school, and towards the end of the school day, I went to the social worker and told them that I am technically homeless and that I don't really have, any kind of like resources or nothing like that. And I don't really have anywhere to stay. So during that meeting, the school called these two social workers from this like youth program that is in my city, and that obviously works with the kids in the high school. So those two social workers came, they spoke to me, and I guess the lead social worker appointed his I don't know if she was an assistant, but or like I don't really know, but he sort of like assigned her to me. So when I remained in school for that year, she came and met with me at the school like once a week, and that's how that relationship began. However, if I'm honest, due to my legal guardian, that relationship was severed by the end of that year. Next question: how can I get in touch with you to get advice? So, this is a question that I've actually received many times in the comments. If you don't know, I do have an email. I think it's in the About section. I think it's also in other comments that I've responded to. I do not have social media. I do not have DMs. I know somebody was like, can I DM you? I don't have a DM to use or to respond to. I don't have an Instagram. I don't have the Snapchat, the Twitter, or the, whatever the other ones are, the Facebook, the Kick, whatever. I don't really have anything like that. So if you want to get in contact with me, you can drop a comment like other people have done, or you can send me an email. It's contact Von Goods, Von being VON, like the last name Vondora. It's contactvongoods@gmail.com. Next question. How did you find that those, oh Lord. So I wrote this, I wrote these comments exactly how they're written to me. Let me start over. It says, how did you find those pro bono people? What did you look up? So those pro bono people, the person is referring to the lawyers that I had, that I found. I'm so grateful to them. They did take on my case for free. And to answer your question, I just typed in pro bono, PROBONO, and there's a space in between pro and bono. Type in pro bono lawyers near me. That's all I did, and I was fortunate enough to live somewhere where there were pro bono lawyers near me, and I just contacted the office. I explained my situation. I made an appointment to meet with the person, and I just got started. I was serious. I really wanted to become an emancipated minor. I did not want my birth father or my birth mother to be able to come to the legal guardian's house and come get me at any point in time. Technically, she only had a guardianship over me for 1 year. So they had every right to come get me had I not become an emancipated minor, or had they remembered that they could do that. So that's all. Just type in pro bono lawyers near you and get to searching. Next question. It says, I'm trying to get emancipated in 2 years, but I'm scared of how hard everything will be. Listen, I was really scared too. I was 15 years old when I left my parents' home. It was like 11 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, something like that. And I had literally a black garbage bag full of journals, diaries, song binders, and shit, stuff that some people probably would think is like not really worth prioritizing when you're running away from home, essentially. But those mattered way more to me. And quite frankly, I had a lot more journals that I used to document the beginning of my time here once I left foster care than I had actual clothes to put on my back. So I grabbed 2 bags, and I left, and I asked the lady who became my legal guardian to just come pick me up. I didn't expect her to take me into her arms or into her home. I didn't expect to remain in the town that I lived in. Listen, I was super scared too. That's the thing about making bold decisions and just going out on your own. Like, it's scary. Whenever you step into the unknown, it's going to be scary. But what I had to come to terms with is I was actually, as young as I was more afraid of who I would become if I didn't leave. That scared me more. I was more afraid of becoming like my birth mother, who I only ever saw like in the house, like sitting on her bed all day, every day, and cooking every once in a while, like not even having the capacity or the wherewithal to really like care for herself, if not for all the children that she had in the home with her who she could rely on. Like, I just didn't want that to be me. I couldn't see myself being alive past 18 because of the place that we lived in, and the fact that like there were 2 separate occasions where somebody was gunned down, like either at the park near me or up the street near me. There was a kid that lost his life when he was just 14 years old. He just became a freshman. And I remember I cried my eyes out because I really thought that could be me. Not because I was hanging around gangbangers or anything like that, just because of the proximity, just because I was on that side of town where shootings often occurred, and there were more like convenience stores and what have you nearby than there wasn't like a grocery store within walking distance for me, at least. And yeah, long story short, I was scared. I was, of course, very, very scared. And I'm 20 now, but I'm still like, there are still some moments where I get that same feeling in my stomach. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, you just get used to it. Like, you just get used to living on your own and making your own decisions and sort of beating to the rhythm of your own drum, you learn to trust yourself. You learn to listen to your gut. You learn to just puff your chest out, puff your chest out and go about your day. Like listen, this is something I realized. You don't have to be afraid of the fall if you know how to get back up. We all are afraid of falling, right? Nobody, and by falling I mean failing. But think about it. You know how to get back up. If you're roller skating and you fall, what are you going to do? You're going to get back up. As long as you wake up every single day, you have an opportunity to get back up. So don't be afraid. Yes, be afraid, but have more faith than fear. It's okay to be afraid. It's quite natural to be afraid. And guess what? You grow when you're afraid. You grow when you're uncomfortable. You don't grow when you're comfortable. So I understand being afraid. Trust me, I was afraid too. But obviously, if you're searching for emancipation advice and you found me, that means that there is something in your spirit that knows that you could be living your life in a better way. And once you have realized that, once your third eye is open, once you have come to that realization, you have no choice but to answer. You have no choice but to just go after whatever it is that you desire, because now you can't pretend like you don't know it exists, So it's okay to be afraid. Just be faithful. Next question. I have some questions. Can I DM you? Yeah, the same thing. Email me. So this one is super long. This video is already long. My bad. But I'm going to try to, I paraphrase as much as I could. So it says, my mom is extremely emotionally distant, mentally abusive, hasn't said I love you in forever, gets really upset all of a sudden, and values my 11-month-old sister more than she does me. I don't want her to get taken away, her meaning the little sister, but is this a valid enough reason to leave? My father is an abandoning alcoholic, and I'm really stressed over here. I'm the one cleaning the house while my mom's boyfriend is always working ungodly hours. My 18-year-old sister uses school as an excuse. Excuse me, I had to burp. I can never have peace of mind. Given the situation, would I qualify for emancipation? My mom doesn't want me to as in become emancipated, and I haven't talked to my dad yet. Do I have to stay in town or can I move away when I become emancipated? So you had a few questions here. Is this a valid reason to leave? Yes, any reason is valid to you, but again, if you're wondering if the judge is going to listen to that and say, yeah, I grant you emancipation, go ahead, be out on your own. No sé, yo no sé, because it depends on what town, it depends on what state you live in, and it also depends on your situation. You need a job. I think you mentioned that there are some places near you that will allow you to get a job, so you need money. Because if your mom is not going to support you becoming emancipated, she's probably not going to support you once you become an emancipated minor. My parents were not paying my bills or sending me money before I became an emancipated minor. They definitely have not done any of that since then. So you really have to, what's most important, more important than the sorrow and the dysfunction that is in your family, is whether or not you can care for yourself once you leave. I wasn't in a position like I am in now with my own place and a job and all that kind of stuff that pays me enough to be able to like have my own place. Like I had someone who came to the courthouse with me and told the judge I will personally let her stay in my home. That helped my case tremendously. You might need a situation like that. Or if you have enough money, if you have a relative that you could stay with that's not the alcoholic, or your mom, or the boyfriend, or the 18-year-old sister, or just somebody that you trust, somebody who won't take advantage of you, somebody who will support you. That's really important because the judge is going to want to know. The most important thing that the judge is wondering when you plead your case is, am I making a good decision by allowing this kid essentially to go out into this world? Am I doing something right by letting this kid go out into this world without knowing for sure that there is someone who wakes up in the morning with the intention of offering the kid guidance? Because essentially that's what your parents are supposed to be, right? So whether or not it's valid, it really just depends on the judge that you have. Whether or not you'll actually receive the grant of emancipation, it depends on whether or not the judge thinks you can take care of yourself. Do you think that you can take care of yourself right now? Are you responsible? You said that you've been cooking and cleaning a lot, and it sounds like you have a lot of responsibilities. I would say that's enough. That's enough reason to go. And that's enough reason to seek to support yourself. You know, I felt like I was a house slave when I lived with my parents. Literally, my parents would tell my sisters to go do something, and my sisters would say, no, tell Star to do it. Literally. And do you think I was able to tell my parents, oh no, go tell such and such to do it? No, I couldn't. So I understand how you feel. I definitely understand how you feel. But I'm also saying that dysfunction is prevalent in every single family. As someone who has lived with several different households in my little 20 years, I can tell you dysfunction is in every single family, especially the families that take a lot of pictures and go on all these vacations and stuff. Those are usually the families with like a lot of tension and dysfunction. So yes, do you have to stay in town once you become emancipated? No, once you become emancipated minor, you are legally an adult, even if you are not 21 yet. So you can go wherever you want to go. Just make sure you can support yourself. Next question. Hello, me and my friend want to get emancipated and our parents may say no. Can you make an emancipation guide and include the parents thing? We were going to have people vouch for us. You do need people to vouch for you. I had counselors and teachers send me all kinds of letters and whatnot. I sent out a blast email and asked a bunch of people to write a letter or a document to attest to my good character, my responsible nature, and everything of the sort. That helped me, especially since I didn't expect my father to say yes. My mother was not going to step foot in the court, and I knew that. So that worked to my advantage to have all those documents inside of my file for the judge to read. Like I mentioned in another video, the judge was very, very, very impressed with my petition that I wrote. She was very impressed with all the letters that the counselors and the teachers wrote me. So that will help you. In terms of writing a guide, I just don't understand what you mean by include the parents thing. Like, can I write a guide and include the parents thing? Hopefully this video is helpful enough to you though. And like I said before, if your parents are not going to give consent for the petition to become emancipated minor, depending on what state you are in, you will not be able to become an emancipated minor. My father said no initially, but the judge really found herself moved and impressed by my document or my file. So, and I think that also had to do with the fact that I was a foster child. I've already had no stability, you know. So I think, you know, when you're somebody who's lived with the same family, the same people your whole life, I don't know, it could be different. But it's very clear in my story that I've not had any like adult in my life who could be really trusted with my well-being. I think it was just clear that I had enough, I don't know, enough of something to take care of myself. That's what the judge believed. That's what she saw. And I mean, she was right. Next question. I'm trying to become emancipated once I turn 16, but nobody in my family thinks I'll do better on my own, even though I know I'll be better independently. Listen, there are a lot of people in this world who are not going to support you, especially people in your hometown, people in your family, and all I can say to that is, really, who cares? Who cares? You know, like, don't put too much weight on the word family. Understand that that biological blood means nothing unless you want it to. So people don't have to care about you. People don't have to support you. People do not have to uplift your spirits. Like, anybody who chooses that is someone to be grateful for, because it's a choice. Nobody actually has to care about you except for you. So if people are not going to support you, and if people don't think that you'll be able to do better on your own, that only matters if those are the people who are going to be in the court with you. You know, when I became an emancipated minor, for those of you who didn't see my other videos and don't know my story and whatnot, My sisters, my two older sisters, were in the courtroom standing behind my father, telling my father to say no. The same sisters who both left the house before they were even 20 years old. Both sisters, I think, left when they were teenagers because of horrific things that happened to them. You know, one sister was assaulted. My mother blamed her for it. Another sister was beat up, and by beat up, I mean punched in the stomach, slapped across the face, etc., by both of my birth parents, and she left. Those are two incidents that happened to my siblings, and those same siblings witnessed things happen to me too, but for some reason they thought it was okay to tell my father to decline the petition and force me to go back to the same home we all were abused in. Not everybody's going to support you. It's really, really disheartening. It's really disappointing, but guess what? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And it's actually kind of funny because not too long ago, I came across a comment by somebody who had like a familiar name. It could be one of my sisters, but the person was like, oh, you didn't deserve that. The person who did that to you is going to get their karma. I'm wishing you well and sending you prayers. That's the energy that she has now. When I'm doing well, when I'm on my own, when I don't need nothing from none of them. That's the energy that she has now. But it would have been great if she had that energy when I was a foster child in that foster home with her and nobody else by my side and nobody else who was familiar to me. That energy would have been great if when we were taken from that foster home and reunited with our birth parents, she stood by my side, but she didn't. I could not count on her for anything. That's going to be the situation sometimes, especially with your so-called family members. Don't take it to heart. Just surround yourself by people who support you, and you're going to be all right. You're going to be totally fine. Next question. It says, hey, how can I get in contact with you? I'm trying to get emancipated myself, or I'm trying to emancipate myself. Again, you can send me an email to ask your questions, or you can just leave a comment in the comment section under a video. Next question. Right now, my dad has full custody of me. He is not going to grant permission to get emancipated. For emancipation, you have to at least be in your own place to prove that you can provide on your own. So with that being said, am I allowed to legally move out first and then file for me to be emancipated without my dad's consent? I am about to turn 17 in 2 more months, and I plan on moving out beyond or by end of the year. If you are in a state where you are legally allowed to move out at the age of 17 and you can afford to do that, go do that. You know, if you have somebody that you're willing to live with and that you trust, because that's really most important. You don't want to move into a place with somebody or even a group of people because you are very vulnerable. Yes, you'll be 17 or 16 as an emancipated minor, but you're still a kid. I was most definitely still a kid. Definitely didn't have as much wisdom and insight as I have now. I was no stupid person back then. I was definitely wise beyond my years, an old soul from day one. But still, you know, you grow over time. Wisdom comes from experiences. So make sure that when you move, you can trust the people that you move with. If you can afford to live by yourself, that's wonderful, girl, wonderful. Make sure that you get that done if it's possible. I think that will help your case, because a huge concern for the judge is whether or not you have somewhere to stay. The judge is not going to let a kid move out of their parents' home and move up from under their parents' rule and then find out that that child has been on the street ever since then. That's going to look really bad on the judge and the state. So just make sure that you can support yourself. I think if you're allowed to move out at the age of 17, go ahead and do it. That will probably inspire your father to believe in you and let you become emancipated if he can see that you're already taking responsibility for yourself. Next question. Where did you stay after you were emancipated, and when did you get your first apartment? So I moved out of the apartment I was staying in the year 2019. So I was 20 years old. I got my first apartment when I was 20 years old, and to answer the first question, where I stayed when I became emancipated minor, I stayed with the lady that I was staying with before. So in case I didn't just explain that, I was staying with my legal guardian ever since my birth mother kicked me out the day before sophomore year. And then a year later, I left school early and I went to court. And this was something that was scheduled though. Like, I had already been meeting with the lawyers throughout the beginning of my junior year. And then one day, towards the end of the year 2015, I went to court and I became an emancipated minor, and I went back to the home that I was already staying with. I stayed with my legal guardian for the rest of junior year and throughout senior year. Then I graduated and I left at the beginning of the following year. And that's when I officially started like moving on my own and what have you, and just renting space and what have you. So yeah. Next question. I've been considering emancipation for a while now, but I'm not sure if my reasons are good enough. Your situation was definitely a way better reason for you to be emancipated. I feel like mine are just dumb. Don't feel like that. Don't feel like that. Don't compare your situation to mine. My situation was really difficult. My situation was really tough. I won't deny that. That's actually what prompted me to leave. I knew that, I was too young to be stressed about kids that did not come outside of my vagina, kids that did not respect me. And I spent every day after school bathing these kids, helping them with their homework, making food for them, like I was somebody's mom. And I was just 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Like, I was way too young for that. And somebody actually left me a comment where they described having to do the same thing. That's not your job. I can't stand parents who have children just to raise the rest of their children. That is lazy. That is really, really lazy. And that's not what your children are here for. Don't feel like my reason, you can feel how you want to feel. I'm not going to tell you that you can't think that way, but don't downplay your situation just because it's not as bad as mine was. I let my situation get as bad as it did because I was afraid to leave. I didn't want the younger kids that I was taking care of to get taken away, because I didn't want them to feel how I felt as a foster child. Like, to grow up in the foster care system is a very unique experience. To be taken away from the people that you've known as your family your whole life is traumatic. And I just thought that if I opened my mouth and I told the social workers and whatnot what really happened behind closed doors in my family's home, that my younger siblings would be scarred the way that I was scarred. And I thought that I was protecting them, but little did I know that I was harming myself so much in the process of trying to protect people who really didn't even care about me. And I know that they were kids, but it doesn't matter. They were still rude to me. And despite the fact that I care for them so much, I still didn't receive any type of respect. Like, they really did make my life a living hell on top of my parents. And some of the things that they said to me, even though they were kids, still hurt. To have your little brother whose balls you're washing every freaking night tell you that you're a cracker and that he doesn't have to listen to you because you're a cracker, that's hurtful. That's really, really hurtful. And that kind of rhetoric came from my older siblings saying those things about me and then letting them think that it was okay too. That's terrible. You don't want to subject yourself to that kind of stuff. And you also don't want to stay in a situation and let it get progressively worse just because it's not as bad as the next person. Like, I understand that you got to be grateful for the situations that you're in and grateful for the life that you live, and be grateful that you have it better than some people. But that doesn't mean that you accept some stuff just because some people have it worse. You never know which end of the spectrum you're going to be on any given day. So when you recognize that there's a problem, stomp it out. You stomp that out until you get it fixed. Final question, or next question. Can you explain how health insurance and everything transfers over when you become legally emancipated? when I became an emancipated minor, the court people gave me a slip. They told me go to the Department of Human Services, give them this slip, they will know what to do. I gave them the slip. They gave me a link card with $198 on it, which is the maximum one person can get in the state that I lived in. And they also gave me Medicaid, which I guess is like free. I mean, nothing's really free in this world, but that is the Medicaid that you receive when you're poor. So that's what happened. My parents had Medicaid too already, so all they did was just open up a new case and put me on it. So last question, can I get emancipated without my parents' consent? This is probably one of the most frequently asked questions. It really depends on the state that you live in. To my knowledge, there are some states where you can, like in Indiana, but you really just have to do the research. With all these questions, I would say do your research. That's how I figured out everything, and that's how I became an emancipated minor. You have to do the research. Nobody did that for me. The pro bono lawyers did petition for me, but I wrote that document. I gave them the information. I met with my father before the actual court hearing just to see what he would say, since that was what they suggested. My father came to the meeting. He told us, I'm going to say no. But even though my lawyers told me that we should probably just call it a quits, I told them no. I told them we are going to that courthouse and we're going to ride this wave all the way to the end. And I did. But and he said no, but I became an emancipated minor. So do your research. Make sure that you have a support system. And if you really, really, really want to change your circumstances, understand that you really can do it. If you can imagine it, if you can see it in your head, if you can see it in your mind, one day you can hold it in your hand. One day you can actually live that reality. I know that because I'm living it, So don't worry too much, y'all. Just do the work, do the research, and be willing. Be willing to be afraid sometimes. Be willing to be unsure sometimes, but be willing to get up every single day and take on your life just because you know that you can and because you're capable of doing so. Be happy and content and grateful for the fact that you have the ability to wake up today and change your circumstances. One small choice, one decision at a time. And if you're an able-bodied person, think of it like this. You can get yourself up out of the bed. You can get yourself up a flight of stairs. You can find out how to get to this building and that building. You can make things happen. You are not powerless in your situation. That's what people want you to believe. But remember, the easiest way to manipulate a person is to get in their head. Do not allow these people, I don't care if that's your mother, I don't care if that's your sister, do not allow these people to get into your head and make you think that your life's journey and your life's worth is simply kissing their ass and cleaning their dishes and taking care of their kids. It does not matter if that kid is your brother, if that kid is your sister. That kid did not come outside of you, and that kid is not your responsibility. It's no disrespect to the child, but understand that people will guilt you into taking on their burdens and taking on their own responsibilities in order to deflect from what they should be doing as a parent, as a person, as your guide, as your caregiver, and so on and so forth. Do not allow people to get into your head and make you think that you are worthless. I don't care how old or how young you are. You are as powerful as you can believe that you are. Just remember that. And once you understand that you are powerful, you got to act like it. You got to walk in it. You got to really believe it. That's all. You just got to believe in yourself. There are going to be so many times where some people don't believe in you. Trust and believe. There are a lot of people that were my friends once upon a time. Where they at though? I'm done, bro. I'm done. Where they at though, right? It's because not everybody that comes with you can go with you. Some people are just going to have to get left behind. They're not on your level. That's okay. And like I said, that might apply to your mother. That might apply to the girl who was your friend once upon a time. It doesn't matter. Everybody who's meant to be by your side will be by your side no matter what. And it is that simple. But on that note, I would say, Tata mi amores. Take care.
Gonna give you this mic back, but what I'm gonna say to the ladies that been told that you cannot have, you tell the devil you's a liar.